All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So this one's a little special, just like the last one. We're gonna do a longer term view instead of the normal short term, okay? I will say just personally, I'm a little better at short term than long term. So if you disagree with anything, please let me know in the comments, okay? If you're right and I'm wrong, let me know and save me some money, please. Obviously, nothing is financial advice. This is just conversations between educated friends, of course. So, what are we going to do today? We're going to do basically the same thing, but like I said, a longer term view. So, all my videos are daily and the weekly. We want to see what the couple days are looking like, what the next couple weeks are looking like, and see if there's any sort of play we can make. This time, we're going to look at the monthly, the quarterly, and the yearly. The reason why I say I'm a little bad at this is really I just don't have the patience, okay? You have to wait a full month before the next candle finishes, right? You have to wait 3 full months before the quarterly finishes. You have to wait 12 months for the yearly, right? Obviously, you know that. But me, I'm a little bit of a gambler. I am, knock on wood, I'm not putting any silly money into it, right? I'm not putting anything I can't lose. But yeah, daily and weekly swings give me a little bit of a gambler fix that just makes me happy. You know what I mean? If you're a long-term person, if you don't have the time to do it daily, what I'm doing on these videos, you can do for your stocks, right? So just do keep that in mind. So before we start, again, what are we going to do? Like I said, we're going to look at the monthly, the quarterly, and the yearly. We have our same moving averages. I know we have these horizontal and support resistance lines, but I'm going to kind of tell you guys to ignore these really, except for the death lines on the S&P and the Dow Jones. Because again, my lines are more short-term than long-term. But with these major markets, there's definitely at least a monthly view to it. And that's kind of why it does make sense a little bit here. But quarterly and yearly, not so much. And then again, you can see it. The same MACD, RSI, and volume that we use short-term will still work long-term, right? So let's start with the S&P and then we'll look at the Dow. So look, on the monthly, and again, we want the yearly ultimately because look, even a monthly is still not enough to do a good long-term, right? But let's just talk about it, right? Same thing we saw on the NASDAQ on the last video, right? We don't quite lose it, but we're pretty much testing the green 8 moving average right at the beginning of the year. And ultimately, you see it goes a little horizontal before testing the 20, could not bounce on the 20, and really just trades under the 20 and the 8 before a violent drop here, a bounce off the 50 up and come down. A lot of this is just like we see on daily charts, right? It just obviously takes months to form. And that's one of the problems with having a bad monthly chart. You have to wait so many months for the bad to finish before and what does that mean? That means a lot of bad weeklies and dailies, and it takes and look, this is when you want to trade, right? Trading over the 8 on the monthly means so much good on the daily and the weekly, right? So but again, we're here for the long term, right? There's a couple things at least worth seeing here. It looks like there was a channel that wanted to happen. It couldn't get to the top of it, right? And now it seems like it might be coming back down, right? I still need one more month, but this might either bring us to 37, roughly 50% of this candle right here, or maybe it'll take us back to this 39, because again, roughly 50% of this candle right here, right? That's at least in the first month, but obviously if the first month does well, hey, maybe that'll take us as high as 42. Maybe we'll do one more attempt at trying to break the 20. But we've seen it on so many stocks, right? Even on these on the daily, there's generally a loss of the 8, a first attempt at the 20, and then a pretty violent drop down after, right? Do I think we're going to break the 20 on the monthly? I kind of don't, actually. I think we're going to see what we see very often on daily and weekly charts, right? So monthly has me worried, but there's at least a couple numbers in my mind right now. 3,700, all right? 3,900 and 4,200, okay? So we'll use those numbers as we go into the quarterly. Not necessarily use them, but if they come up again, hey, that'll make it a little stronger, right? So the quarterly, boom, 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 right? We see it. We lose the 8. So this is right here, my death line, right? This one's not the 50. The 50 is down here. So we actually don't even hit the 20. That's relatively positive, right? Because I'm just quickly going to go to the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ has been the worst, and you can see we're not quite hitting it here either. The candle is above it, but NASDAQ's a lot closer to it, right? And the S&P, like I said, has been better than the NASDAQ, but not as good as the Dow Jones. And we'll see the Dow Jones a little bit later on this video, right? But this is actually a good quarterly, okay? The monthly, what I didn't like was that we had a red candle that took it. This actually regained the loss from last quarter. That is a positive thing, right? And again, we never come as close to the 20, and it really seems like we might at least be trying to make another attempt up to 4,100. Again, does that number sound familiar? I think it should, right? That was roughly, okay, 42, 41, 42. All right, so cool. So 41 might actually seem a little realistic here, okay? That said, again, I still have this 34 in mind because, again, this does look like a good upward curve, right? But, yeah, no, really, I feel like this just seems a little more likely now than this. Again, this is a little too tight, so I'm going to disregard the RSI. I do wish, I'm zooming in here for this, I wish the buying was over the 50. So, and you can see it, right? Volume was 1.3 billion and the 50 average is 1.3 billion, but it's 1.35 billion. And I'm assuming this is like 1.3499 or whatever, right? I exaggerate, but again, you can see it. We couldn't quite get the volume that we wanted. Again, I'm just kind of nitpicking here, but this does seem a little more positive than I actually was expecting when I looked at this, right? So I actually think this 41 seems a little more likely than even the death line down here. So that has me positive going into the yearly view. Okay, yearly view took a little away from me, and I'll be honest, I have too many lines, but hey, there is some positive, okay? We definitely lost more than 50% candle. I obviously wish we didn't lose as much, but we did not lose the entire candle, right? This thing was down here. We're at least up here on the red, right? So there is about $100 difference between these last 2 years. I'll take that, right? I don't like the wick down here, but you know I don't care too much about wicks, right? I care more about the body. Again, this kind of makes me feel 43 could be realistic, okay? Could 35 be realistic? Yeah, it could, right? And really from there, I guess this could also be realistic too if it wants to maybe drop down. But the same thing, and look, you can already see it forming if you watch the NASDAQ video. Wow, this one, okay. This one goes a lot longer. S&P, okay, look at that. S&P, and that makes sense. S&P is older than NASDAQ. Tech hasn't been around that long. So, historically speaking, one red candle, green. One red candle, green. One red candle, green. There is a multiple one right here. There's a multiple one right here, and that's it. Every other red yearly has only been singled out, right? And there's green behind it, right? So that same thing held up with the NASDAQ. I'm assuming it's going to hold up with the Dow Jones when we get to there shortly after this, right? But just an interesting thing to look at, right? Because look, I mentioned it on the other one. If you go to roulette and you use the historical numbers to place your bet, that's a dumb bet. With technical analysis, we're using the historical info to place our bet, right? And it just ultimately becomes this question of, and here's just, again, nitpicking, right? This one was 2 back-to-back. This one was 3 back-to-back. Would that mean this one would be 4 back-to-back if it was? Again, I'm just kind of guessing here, right? From there, I will say one more thing. I zoomed out too much. I'm sorry. So trading over the 8, lose the 8, but don't, and go horizontal, come back. Lose the 8, come to the 20 and go back up, right? Are we going to go horizontal here? Worst case would really be coming down here to the 2000. And I'll be honest, I've never mentioned 2000 on the S&P 500. This really is the first time I'm seeing the 2000 number for the S&P 500. It really lines up with this doji, the top of this and the top of that, right? So again, I'm not going to say 2000 on this video, but I think 31 seems realistic, and I think really between that 41 and 43 just seems a little more realistic. I think I'm going to actually be a little positive on the S&P 500 going in. Now look, this is a yearly, okay? So when I make the next daily video, I'm still going to be really negative, okay? This is definitely not doing well on the weekly. That's a bunch of bad weeklies. That's not a great daily. We're definitely under everything. I don't believe we'll get over this 3,900 anytime soon. But a lot can happen in the year to bring us up here, right? So I'm really surprised to say I'm looking a little more positive here because I actually was negative on the NASDAQ. But this could actually play out well by the end of the year. Again, just looking at our yearly, our monthly, and our quarterly, right? So now the exact same thing we just did here, we're gonna do for the Dow Jones. And again, if anyone disagrees with anything, please let me know. My I don't want to say expertise. I'm not trying to sound like a cocky bastard. I don't know how else to say it, right? But my game is short term. I'm just giving you my long term thoughts and opinions here, right? So what's happening on the monthly? And again, like I said on the S&P, right? You need to look at the quarterly and the yearly a little bit more for those long terms, but let's just start here and work our way, right? We definitely are well under the 8. We hit the 50 and bounce up nicely, right? And again, the Dow Jones has been the best one. This is definitely just now trying to test the loss of the 20 and hey, maybe even the 8. But yeah, this is still over the 8, right? Something that SP-500 can't say, if I'm not mistaken. Cannot, right? It's under this one and definitely just lost this one. And then obviously we saw it earlier. But yeah, NASDAQ is well under, right? So Dow Jones has been the crown jewel. Again, still with the 20, barely, testing the 8. But yeah, this makes me, again, believe short term we might be coming down a little bit. But again, what we're really here for is the quarterly and the yearly views. Interesting, right? Look. This is on the money. Like I said, what we've been, the 20 is just, it's the place where we will literally either drop down to the 50 or make another attempt to the 8, right? And I think seeing this Dow Jones, I'm going to go back to that, makes me a little bit more comfortable with why I think this might actually go up. I think that there's a real good chance that it'll go to 41. Do I think it's going to crack it? I don't know. Because again, looking at the Dow Jones, did you crack it? Oh man, I think we got to go into the numbers. So by $23, okay, this thing closed at 33,147. Our 8 was at 33,124. It barely cracked the 8. Do I think that that's a good crack? Nah, I don't, but I like that the volume was there. I'll take it. There is, how far are we from here? I think there's a chance that we can come up to 33, maybe 34. I just don't know if we're going to go back into these golden lines of trading. Again, hey, if we do, I'd love it. And look at that. Like I said, red, 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 red generally turns into green, 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 right? So I think that there's a chance that we'll come to maybe this, like I said, 3,400 at the end of the year. Maybe we'll even come to what's this line? This one's not quite 50%. So I'm going to click down here and just try to, yeah, right there is about 50. So 35 and 34 seem realistic on the quarterly. From here, look, we very easily can see 50% of this candle, which brings us back to 31. We also can very easily come back right to the 20, right? We've seen that where you get one nice big one and then right back with it, you lose it right back, right? And on that low side, it would be basically 2,900, okay? This is a little too horizontal to really consider. Oh man, this obviously had a hard dive, but it at least seems like it's a little horizontal. That's at least better than dropping, right? So I'll try to give myself a little optimism there. And then again, I'm glad that the volume was here. So 34, 35, 31, and then 29. Let's go look at the yearly. Okay, so we're going to zoom out. We're going to zoom out just like we did. This is even older than the S&P 500, right? Because this one takes us to 1915. SP 500 takes us to 1960, what, 1962, and then NASDAQ takes us to 1990, okay? Just a very cool DJ. Cool. Okay. This one definitely has more back-to-back reds. This one has a real ugly back-to-back red. That's definitely the super crash, right? The Black Friday, Black Monday, Black Friday. That's the sale, Black Monday. By the way, Black Monday is a really good show, I think on Showtime. Don Cheadle, check it out if you haven't. He's not paying me to say that. I wish, but yeah, no, that's just sincere opinion. But that's a bad one. There's actually been more, and again, this one's longer though, right? But let's just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's definitely been more single reds than there have been back-to-back reds, and especially in that same time frame as the other ones, right? Basically from the 60s to today, the same view as we saw with the other two, right? Okay. From there, what are we looking at? Hey, I like that we didn't even really lose 50%. I'll roughly call that, or we can say we're right at 50%. That's actually kind of comforting. What does this take us down to? So 30, right? We mentioned 29. I could see 2,900 being realistic because we did see that one on the quarterly. And then let me take us to 50. Yeah, 50% is about 35. I think those are the numbers. I think 34, 35 on the upside, and then 29, 30 on the downside. So that's the Dow Jones right there. So again, like I said, I am better at short term than long term. If you disagree with any of these, let me know. But yeah, those are my predictions. Like I said, I'm still relatively bearish, I guess you could say. Pessimistic is what I call it. Up front, right? I'm not really expecting great things in the beginning of the year. However, for whatever reason, there's reasons that make me think the year will end well, right? And a lot can happen between January and December to make that happen. So it's good to take long-term views. And hey, even if you're wrong, at least you're preparing yourself and you adjust as things unfold, right? That is what technical analysis is. But hey, I hope you're learning. I sincerely appreciate your time, whether you subscribe or not. And here's to a positive 2023.